So this lovely year of 2018, I can feel a very strong shift in what I'm putting out into the world, what I'm going to call it, showing up as, around life being our playground and being able to play it our own way, choosing for each of us what is our way to play things. So today, I would like to ask you a question. Are you playing the judgment game? Now I have made some notes so I don't waffle. Me, waffle, poof, is my favourite game. But the judgment game. I woke up this morning thinking about it. Literally woke up, oh my gosh, how harshly do I criticise myself? Blah, 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 all these thoughts in my head, and had some quite interesting insights into the way I criticise myself. And so being able to share with you maybe some insights into how you are judging yourself. We're doing a lot of work behind the scenes at the moment around the body presentation stuff that we work with, how to be friends with your body, how to shift your perspective of your body, how to change your relationship with your physical health and the narrative that you have around that. And because of that, this popped into my head. So I'm going to tell you about it. You ready? So who is your harshest critic when it comes to your body? You. You are your harshest critic. Absolutely, hands down. As much as you might like to blame outside yourself and say, this person told me that and they judge me, you know yourself the thoughts that go on here that judge, compare, criticize, put down, overanalyze. You know it. You know the narrative you have in your head around your body, and all of us, especially women, men have it too though, around not being good enough. So here's something to think about. First one, there's 4 things. First one is, has something ever been said to you? Has someone ever said something to you that's made you go, oh, that's probably true about myself? Or maybe they didn't say it directly to you, but it was somebody that you respected or that was in a place of authority over you, or perhaps a friend said something and had an opinion about bodies or people in general. I'm going to refer this all to the physical body because that's where we're heading with a lot of our work at the moment. But it could be around an attitude or way you show up as a person as well. But has a friend or somebody you respected ever said something and made a judgment about bodies that made you go, oh, that's an opinion, I don't fit that. So you shrank back and you hid yourself. And that criticism you now have in your head is not yours. It's that person's opinion or that person's judgment of you, which you took on board, which may not have been meant in that way. That's neither here nor there. But you've taken it on board and you replay it. You like the repetition. Perhaps your way to play is to repeat things. The pattern. Notice the pattern in things and just repeat, 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 over and over and over again. And because you're playing this repetition game, that criticism belief is getting more and more firmly embedded, literally in the cells of your body. Whether you're saying it out loud or you're just running in your head, it's starting to change the patterns of how you physically represent in this world. So if you're liking that repetition game, my advice to you would be to start the repetition of something that's an alternative. Now, appreciation is a massive part of the work we do, especially around bodies, but in terms of as a person. If you can start playing the appreciation repetition game, you will shift that criticism quick, smart, and hurry. But it takes conscious and focused effort to notice when you're replaying that criticism and go, appreciate. So that's my tip for you. If you're a replayer, appreciate yourself and set that on repeat. So number 2 is the comparison game. Ooh, 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 who does that? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yeah, most of us do in some way. We see somebody else that has something that we go, ooh, we admire, we respect, and we compare ourselves to that ideal that we've set up. Now, that comparison usually comes from a place in us that's competitive. As much as some of you might go, I'm not a competitive person. If you're comparing, you are competitive. Own that and be it. Because that's an energy and a drive you can use when you're competitive, rather than oh, well, I'm just going to lose anyway, and backing away. Competitive drive can be a good way to play if you utilize that and know how to compete so that you are changed, so that you are bettered by the competition, rather than shrink back and say I'm rubbish and defeated by it. because even in defeat there is learning. So if you are competitive, if you find yourself doing comparisons, realize you might have a competitive streak, own it and use it in a beneficial way. However, if you have those comparison thoughts running in your head, realize that it probably comes from a competitive mindset in some way, and that you can shift that by creating instead. So put competition aside in terms of that judgment you're making, that comparison critique you're having, and create instead. Rather than looking at somebody else and go, well, they're really thin, or they've got those amazing abs, or oh, look at their legs. Go, oh, okay, you know what? Great, that's their thing. For me, what do I want to create for my body? And work on creating yourself. It is possible, it is doable. It's not about, I'm going to do that so I make myself like them. You go, I'm going to take this amazing physical I'm in and create an even more amazing physical. My advice would be to take that comparison and have that other ideal up in front of you and say, no, I see me as I am, and I'm creating more and better of who I already am. And that's how you can shift that comparison criticism that may be hopping around in here. Number 3 is the visual judgment. The visual, and this usually is for people that are a little bit perfectionist in some way. Yes. So if you have an aptitude for perfectionism, it may be that you're actually a visual person. You like the look of things, you like things to look a certain way, you envision stuff when you think about things, you see pictures. And so it probably is just normal for you to see the visual that you present and go, oh, that's not good enough. It's not perfect. It's not how I've seen something else, or it's not how I expect it to be. And perhaps it's time to take a look at some pictures from years ago. People do come and they say, you know what, I really want the body I had when I was 20, or if only I could be what I was. And I go, are you still that same person you were back then? No. So why do you want to go back to the physical representation that you were back then? And if you are a visual person and you're worried about, oh, look at me now, I'm not perfect, I must hide everything away, take a look at pictures of back then, pull those pictures out, have a look, and remember how you used to think about yourself back then. I guarantee you were just as judgmental of yourself back then, when you thought now, that you're thinking now says you were perfect back then or better. Back then you probably had the same mental pattern going on about you are not good enough, you're not perfect enough. So realize that everything you are now is brilliant, because you will look back in the pictures of you right now in 20 years and go, what was I fussing about? Look how amazing I was then. If only I'd enjoyed that back then. Start blimmin' enjoying yourself right now. Start enjoying this physical you're in right now, because it is beautiful, it is amazing. And we're not meant to stay the same. We're meant to change and adapt and become. And if you're becoming something you think, oh, I don't like it, it's not perfect enough, look at what might be causing that to become that way. And rather than pushing the physical to look the right way, start to shift stuff that comes from in your heart, because that's actually where those changes have started from, is the person you are, the attitude you have, the beliefs you hold, the experiences you've been through that have changed you and molded you. All of those things are representing your physical body, showing you the visual picture, and you can make that what you want it to be. Right now, you can do it. So if you are a visual person, you're doing that visual judgment, and you're saying, I'm not perfect enough, get a picture out, look at it, realize that even back then you judged yourself. So take a look at yourself right now and say, what does look good about me now? And start to see the things that are beautiful, the things that are perfect enough, that you can maybe work on or head towards something different, realizing that you're ever changing, ever adapting. And I actually wrote a note here that made me just chuckle a second ago. I put, if you weren't changing, if you weren't adapting and shifting your body all the time, you would either be dead or you'd be boring. So avoid dead and boring and get on with appreciating what you're in. And the 4th one is the performer. And I can relate to this one as well, so maybe I've got all of these in me. That's probably why I'm sharing this, because I think I'm well versed in criticism, internal criticism, enough to share this with you and how to undo it. The performer who has made a habit of publicly self-criticizing. Anybody notice this? Anybody have a friend that does this? You wouldn't do it now. And it's that thing of when you have a friend who goes, oh my God, I'm so fat. Or, oh no, I don't like that about me, so I think I'll hide it away. And Whether people that do that regularly are doing it because they either want the attention from, oh, look at me, notice me, say I'm not that, disagree with me, or help me. I often find that people who are verbally putting themselves down in front of others are generally looking for some kind of attention, reassurance, help in some way. And there's nothing wrong with asking for help, but ask directly. Because to do that chatter, critical chatter of yourself out loud, all it's doing is affirming that pattern of criticism, and it's like playing a script continually, saying this is what I believe about myself, this is what I believe about myself, rather than saying I'm struggling with that, I'd like to be different, what can I do? So you ask a different question. And perhaps it's time, if you are the performer who likes to speak and be noticed and have people agree or give you attention or give you help, it's time to change your script. Shift the script and be honest about what you really need, what you feel you want to be different, and then the script, the things you say, make them action words, make them about I am doing this, I am becoming this, I need help with this, I desire things to be different, rather than say, oh, I'm so terrible, darling, the drama queen. Because not only is that tiring for you to live in that script and that character all the time, it's also time for the people around you to hear that and to either think, oh, I'm responsible, which is obviously their journey, or to then start to go, oh, they're on about it again, and they'll stop listening. And then you'll have to find another audience and another audience and another audience, rather than saying, hang on, I am the performer. I can perform what I want to be. And you can change that into the performance, the show, the body show that you want to have. It is doable. And I do believe those are all the points I wanted to share with you about self-criticism, especially in terms of body. Now, these do apply to characteristics about yourself, things you're achieving, doing, ways you're criticizing yourself other than physical appearance. But the thing I notice most often is that when a woman especially criticizes her appearance, she's often criticizing every part of her. And it is a massive part of how women present, because of the way society's told us that we are our bodies. Show up, and if the body's not good enough, you better hide yourself away. So start to think about maybe how you criticize yourself and how you can shift that. Because those words you say to yourself, you live with that all the time. And think about if you said those words to your daughter, to your son, to your best friend, to your mother, how would that make them feel as a person? Would you be able to say those things out loud to somebody in the way you say them to yourself? Usually, most people will say, not a chance. I would never say that to someone else. So why say it to yourself? Remember, life is your playground. You have this gorgeous body that you are in that enables you to play in this playground. So please, please, please play it your way. Enjoy the body and the playground that you are in, and play your way.